We are back 31-14. The Lafayette players lined up to honor the crowd that has come out on Family Day and honor their alma mater as they stand with their helmets off. 31-14. Score not quite as indicative of the way the Leopards played today. They played hard. They came back, got it to 17-14, had all kinds of momentum going into the locker room. Got a 1-2-3 and out against Villanova, coming back out. And then things just fell apart. In about a minute and a half, we had a blocked punt, and then we had a interception return for a touchdown. Let's go down to John Leone and head coach Frank Tavani.
Coach Frank, a whale of a roller coaster today. I think this game can be kind of summarized in 90 seconds of the third quarter. A third down play, pass drop for a first down, block punt, interception. Then it was tough to come back.
Well, unfortunately, went backwards. It looked like to me. Obviously looking at the film again, opportunities, but turnovers. You can't. And then we handed them 3 touchdowns. You can't hand a football team number 19 in the country. You can't just give them opening play, then the block punt. You can walk them in, and then of course the pick, and then we start to force some things. There's still a lot of good things there, but 1 and 3 to open up league play, and we got a lot of work to do. Unfortunately, I think we took a step backwards tonight.
Well, Coach, I understand you are what your record says you are, the famously quoted. However, there have been snippets of times in these first 4 games when we've seen some pretty darn good football. Now, what do you take, especially from these last 3 games against 3 quality opponents? What do you take from these 3 games going into the Patriot League schedule next week?
Well, we certainly got to execute better, especially again in critical situations. We gained some momentum there. We did what we wanted to do coming out of the locker room. Wanted to get a stop, wanted to go down and get points. I guess I should have made up the rest of the plan after that. Unfortunately, they're a good football team. You got to credit Andy Talley and his team. Outstanding team. That's why they're 19th in the country. But we certainly, we don't take a second seat to anyone. We're just hurting ourselves right now. But you know how it is, John. You're either first or last.
I guess so, Coach, when there's 2 teams involved. But I know this. You scheduled a heck of a group of teams. It was entirely possible that we'd be 1 and 3. I think you wanted to be competitive. You're competitive. It all starts for real next week.
We play to win, not to be competitive, John. You know that.
You got it, Coach. Go get him next week.
Thank you.
I knew that was coming. Hey, Dylan, step in here. Dylan, again, I think your play today was a microcosm of the game. You were a standout offensively. And listen, you're a grown man. The third down drop. Did you take your eyes off it?
Yeah. It was a good ball by Drew. I saw, it was one-on-one. I just wanted to make a play, and I took my eyes off. I was thinking get upfield before I caught it, and that one hurt a little bit. But.
Dylan, I got to believe, though, that going forward, that's what it's about. You got to pick yourself up. You got to make more plays. You did that, and for the most part, it was all good.
Yeah.
It was all good. Talk about your emergence in this offense and how it's developed for you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm happy to be a big part of this offense. I know I've worked really hard, and I think Coach Fine trusts me now to be a big part. Definitely on third down, make big plays. That one on third down, it hurt, but sometimes you got to brush it off. And hopefully, I was able to come back and make a couple more plays. But
well, it really energized the team. 6 catches, 93 yards for you tonight, Dylan. It all starts again over 0-0 next week going into Holy Cross. What's the mindset of this group?
We're excited. I know this was a tough game, but that was a great team we played, and we played some great teams. We've been playing pretty well. This one slipped a little bit, but I think we have a lot of confidence going to a league play. I'm excited for Holy Cross to come. A very winnable game on our field. We definitely need a win here. It's been a long time, but I think it's homecoming weekend, so we're excited. It's gonna be a great atmosphere. I think we get it.
Absolutely, Dylan. Good luck next week. Go get him. Congratulations on a great game. Gary Michael, class act right there. Let's look for better things next week. Patriot League opener next week. Homecoming Holy Cross.
Yeah, it will certainly be big and a necessary win for Lafayette. Let's go to the highlights of tonight's ball game. You're going to see some lowlights, too, that cost the Leopards a lot of points. Here's Mike.
Well, they fought and they fought and they fought. And obviously early in the game here, it's just obviously didn't start off well. Villanova's an opportunistic team, and this guy, number 92, Pasenio, he was a thorn all night long. He's just a terrific football player. He missed matches. And here's a fake field goal, and Villanova gave Lafayette an opportunity, but they step up and make plays. Another senior there making a great play. Draylon James keeping that at a 7-0 lead. Lafayette gave up a little bit of a drive. They held them to a field goal, a 10-0 game, and then some big plays in the game. Aaron Forbes was a fantastic runner inside the tackles, outside. He's strong in the lower body. 2 straight runs by him. He's going to bounce this one back. Lafayette losing a little bit of leverage on the defensive side right there. He's going to get this ball down inside the 1-yard line, and then you're going to see Jahan come in and take this one in. So 17-0, and people were probably leaving thinking 35, 40, and Lafayette's going to get rolled over. They came back. They really did a nice job. They needed to score. They needed to answer. And Drew Reed, again, threw the ball extremely well tonight. He was accurate with the football. He got in a tempo and a rhythm. And it was good to see Yasir Thomas get into the end zone. Good pressure on the backside. Bo Bosch right at the end of the half. A big pick. His first one of the season by Philip Parham. Great job. 17-7. You come out, like Frank said, you get a stop, and then you run a nice play right here. Drew, they set it up earlier in the game with this fake. He sets up. Great route by Vangelis. He gets a touchdown. He gets in the end zone. 17-14. Lafayette has got the momentum. They get a drop pass just before this. Ryan Forrester just mishandles the snap a little bit. A couple plays later, you're going to see again Aaron Forbes take it into the end zone. That made it at that point in time 24-14, and then a little pressure on the backside. Lafayette, their tackles are going to struggle with quick, fast, big defensive ends and CAA ends. And again, watch this, come around the edge again. It's Passenio. He puts the pressure on. Drew can't step into the throw. So when teams know that Lafayette has to throw the football, it's very difficult. And here's the last interception back over the top. Rob Roll, he had a fantastic game. He got a 100-yard interception taken away from him, Gary. But there's a few plays, again, in there where they could have turned this game around. They're highlights, and I call them highlights because that's what they are. You got to focus on those. The kids know they made mistakes. You don't have to tell them. They know what they're supposed to do. You can't drop passes, but there's situations there to build on.
And we knew coming in with Delaware, Princeton, Villanova, and Army on the schedule independently, it'd be tough to get wins. And certainly it's nice to turn everything around next week, be 0-0 when we take on Holy Cross. Mike and I will see you next week at 3:30. Right now, we throw it down to the guys to finish things up. Here's John Leone.
Thank you, fellas. Great job as usual from you guys in the booth. You know, Maurice and Phil were 1-3. But I have to tell you, there have been some bright spots. We knew that this was a challenging schedule coming in. Maurice, let's go to the defense first. Talk a little bit about the momentum we had and the bright spots on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, listen, like you said, in the first half there, you had some guys coming off the bench. Secondary did fairly well. But, you know, at the end of the game, it's hard to get around, like some of the missed tackles. And, you know, I don't want to say lack of effort. I think the guys tried as hard as they could. They just wore down a little bit there at the end. So, but the good news is, you know, Villanova's done, Delaware's done, Princeton's done. Now we can move off to Holy Cross, and now the Patriot League begins.
Absolutely. And Phil, you know, you know my affinity for the Cleveland Browns. I understand, and I'm gonna make a connection here.
I feel sorry for that.
I know, fellas, my sympathies, and I'll be down tomorrow. But Bernie Kosar, my idol, once famously said, every football game comes down to 5 plays. I think you could put your finger on 3 within a span of 90 seconds tonight that completely turned this game around.
You know, I think we talked about it a little bit. You know, Dylan Wadsworth had a great game, you know, caught the ball well. Unfortunately, had that one drop, and that really just turned the game. That block punt came back down, they scored, and then we come back, throw the pick for the pick 6. So that was a big turning point in the game.
You know, it's interesting because isn't it poetic almost that Dylan Wadsworth, our Coca-Cola player of the game, is also a guy that we single out for a big drop. And you saw the look in his eyes, and he knows it. He's a big boy. He understands it. But it's almost like you're looking for something or somebody to blame for this thing, and that's really not the case. Maurice, we're not that far away.
Hey, listen, I've played a bunch of games. I haven't played in 10 years, but I've played a bunch of games in my career. I'm sure Phil would say the same thing. I haven't played the perfect game yet. Yeah. I'm still seeking that perfect game. So after each game, there are teachable moments. So there are definitely some bright spots, but hey, we got to work after every game to get better.
And that said, you know, when you're playing against quality opponents the way Lafayette is, You don't necessarily have to play a perfect game, but sometimes those mistakes get magnified. Your margin for error is very slim.
Sure, definitely. You know, especially when you've got an offense that, you know, with a running game that's pretty anemic, you know, and you can't throw it down the field. It takes a perfect drive, which we did put a couple together.
Yeah.
But if you look at the stats, I think we only had like 5 less first downs than they did, and that just goes to show you the type of drives that we put together. They're just slow, you know, time-consuming drives, and no real big plays.
It's becoming a pattern, running the ball, stopping the run. But, fellas, that's going to do it for us for Family Weekend. Remember, next week it's 0-0. Yeah. Holy Cross comes in. It's homecoming. It's the opening of the Patriot League season. We will be back, as will Gary, as will Michael. And until then, thanks for joining us. Good night to all of you. We'll see you next week.